Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 11th of May, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies, then we'll look at stock markets, commodities, and last of all, some US tech stocks. And we start with the dollar index. Dollar index this week got off to a good start. Off the back of the French elections, we saw a slight relief rally in the dollar really, but it's now just hitting this the buffers again and in the sideways mode. We are bearish in the medium term, but bullish in the long term, and so really just hard to call the direction at the moment. We've got short-term downside targets, long-term upside targets, and we do have this resistance that we're fighting at the moment. But it is bullish in the short term whilst we're above the cloud, although the point and figure chart conflicts with that a little bit. But dollar strength is returning a little bit. The euro is weak below the cloud, but a shortage of downside targets in the short-term chart, although the long and medium-term charts still have very bad downside targets we see here. So we are just still in territory where the euro could go through a real rout in the medium to long term, so we need to be aware of that. Japanese yen, dollar strength, again, much the same picture where we're just running out of steam a little bit. The medium term chart here is stronger for the dollar. We're just starting to come through on the cloud. Not yet through on the long-term chart, but we are seeing dollar strength just showing through there, or yen weakness. Sterling is just below the cloud at the moment, so just really struggling to break this 130 level. That is hitting long-term resistance here, so quite interesting there as well. And if we look at the euro sterling rate, we see as well the sterling has the upper hand at the moment, but just coming off a little bit. Looking at the Swiss franc, much the same picture, just struggling at this 130 level, and against the Australian dollar, 176, we're just starting to see that relationship turning a little bit more bearish. So it's had a very big move against the Australian dollar, sterling, but it looks like that might be coming to an end. Looking at the US stock market, we're just sitting here still just struggling at this 2400 level at the moment, so that's quite key. But the long-term charts are still very, very bullish indeed. And if we take a look at the medium-term chart on the S&P 500 on the 0.5% box size, new targets all the time, 8% upside activated, 13% upside, and a new target of 30%, which is not yet activated, but we are just seeing big moves, and the same thing with the NASDAQ. We're seeing big moves there too. So the long-term chart on the NASDAQ has still got upside potential of 3 and 16%. So really looking very strong. And the Dow Jones, again, similar upside targets. So it's just a case of waiting for this break, but it looks like it will break to the upside. And the Russell 2000 is just holding on, just in the short term, just holding on to its sort of support level here, but not looking as good as the other indices right now. Taking a look at the futures, down very slightly at the moment, so giving us a little bit of a heads up for what will happen today. The FTSE 100 index we see here going higher as well, so that's looking quite strong on all three time frames. And the FTSE 250 much the same, down very slightly this morning, but overall looking pretty strong. The DAX we're seeing here, the DAX index is looking very bullish on all three time frames again, so the market looking strong too. Nikkei having a good run, weaker yen helping here, breaking to new multi-year highs, just starting to nudge this 2015 high. So that's really quite strong. And then the Hang Seng Index also looking strong. China, we said we've been a little bit worried about, has been selling off quite strongly. No one's really noticed it's fallen about 10% over the last several weeks. And we just see that bearishness there. But there's a shortage of downside targets on the medium and long-term charts, or the medium and short-term charts, although the long-term chart do have some quite significant targets there. So just a little bit wary of China at the moment. And the BSE Sensex, the Indian market, also looking pretty strong at the moment, so that's interesting. And the Australian market just in the doldrums on the short term, just stuck in this range at the moment, so quite key there too. Brent crude is back above $50, so we've crossed through the cloud. We're back into bullish territory in the short term, but we are seeing a pattern now of is on the daily chart. Here we see the low, then a high, a lower high, then a lower low. This is classic Dow theory, falling away lower. So it's not looking great for Brent at the moment, nor WTI. So that's just interesting. We are seeing a recovery here. We do have recovery levels of about 2% upside, and on Brent we did have also about this 2% upside, even as much as 6% back to 54. But at the moment the medium term is dominating, and that is quite worrying. Looking at US NatGas, we're still sitting in this 320s area, which seem to have been here for a good several weeks now. We are just wandering out on the medium-term chart, so it's looking stronger, and we have activated this upside target on the medium-term 0.5% chart, and that's giving us an upside to 371. We've got 368, so 370 is looking like quite a likely target for US NatGas now. Copper is just bearish in the short and medium term, so that's just breaking down, and that's quite key as well. And if we look at some of the other heating oil, similar pitch to crude as we might expect, coffee just bearish below the cloud there. Taking a look at the gold chart, gold just really struggling at the moment in the doldrums. It's given us another downside target here on the short-term chart, not yet activated. So we are just seeing these moves. This is the key though, keeping hold of this March 2000 low, which was at about 1196. So we're just going to make sure that we hold this sort of 1200 area. Silver, much the same thing, just starting to turn a little bit more bullish on the short-term chart, but we have got a bearish picture there on the medium-term chart. Gold doesn't quite have that. We see that we're bullish in the long and medium term there. Taking a look at US Treasury yields, we see here that we're just heading up there. We're at about 240, 2.4% on the yield, so that is looking more and more bullish. And we do have these quite interesting upside targets on the short-term chart, 252, 2.48 and 2.5. So looks like 2.5% is back on the cards. We're seeing multiple targets in that direction. Apple still looking strong, and Google again just in a sideways move at the moment. Amazon is still looking very strong above all three clouds. Facebook just selling off a little bit back to 150, but the interesting thing is multiple upside targets there, and Microsoft, much the same picture we're seeing there, so quite key. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.